Young Justice. The movie came in looking like another team-up cartoon, sidekicks getting their moment while the big names handled the real threats. But by the end of its first season, fans realized they were watching something closer to a political thriller wrapped in superhero colors. This wasn't a case of the week show. Storylines stretched across years with plot threads that paid off seasons later. Robin, Kid Flash, Aqualad, Miss Martian, Superboy, Artemis, every member got real arcs, flaws, and consequences. Season 2 pushed harder. Time jumps, undercover missions, and the meta-human trafficking storyline gave the series a darker tone without losing its focus on character growth. It tackled immigration allegories through alien refugees, explored PTSD through heroes like Miss Martian and Superboy, and later gave fans meaningful LGBTQ+ representation, most notably with Calderon coming out as gay in Season 3. Then, just as it hit stride, Cartoon Network pulled the plug in 2013. Low toy sales were blamed, but fans weren't buying that. The Renew Young Justice movement started trending years before trending was an everyday thing. Petitions, rewatches, and streaming marathons on Netflix built a case Warner Brothers couldn't ignore. When the show returned in 2019 on DC Universe with Young Justice Outsiders, it didn't play it safe. The stakes were higher, the themes heavier, and the cast more diverse than ever. Outsiders and the final season, Phantoms continued to juggle politics, family drama, and moral gray areas with the same serialized precision that made it a cult hit in the first place. Across its 4 seasons, the movie managed something rare. It grew up alongside its audience. It proved that animated superhero storytelling could be ambitious, emotionally layered, and worth fighting for, literally. Justice League: Gods and Monsters. Before the opening credits even rolled, the movie let you know this wasn't the Hall of Justice you grew up with. The first mission ends with bodies on the ground, and the public watching their supposed saviors stride away without apology. That was Bruce Timm's pitch, and Elseworlds, where the world's most famous heroes were forged in darker fires. Superman? Hernan Guerra, the son of General Zod, raised by Mexican immigrants who taught him resilience but not Clark Kent's small-town idealism. Wonder Woman? Becca, a new god whose wedding day massacre sent her fleeing to Earth. Batman? Kirk Langstrom, a scientist whose cure for his own illness left him with fangs and a thirst for blood. This league literally ran governments nervous. Then came the murders. Scientists linked to advanced weapons research started turning up dead, each case pointing back to the League. They weren't innocent, but they also weren't the killers. As the investigation unraveled, the trail wound through Lex Luthor's Shadow Empire and a plot involving stolen Kryptonian tech. The movie didn't slow down for comfort. Political maneuvering sat alongside brutal fight scenes. Each of the 3 leads got moments that stripped them down to their core. Hernan questioning his own right to rule, Becca confronting the ghosts of betrayal, Langstrom quietly wondering if his humanity was still intact. Fans ate it up. It felt self-contained, but big enough to hold its own mythology. Tie-in shorts expanded the world with smaller missions, while a prequel comic series dug into the League's earlier days. The reception was clear. Even in an era saturated with superhero media, this Elseworlds vision stood out for committing completely to its premise. For DC Animation, the movie proved that flipping the board over doesn't have to break the game. Sometimes, it's the only way to play it differently. Superman: Red Son. When the movie dropped in 2020, it came with one of DC's most loaded what-if hooks. Kal-El's rocket doesn't land in Kansas. It touches down in the Soviet Union, and the symbol of truth and justice grows up under the red flag. The animated movie adapted Mark Millar's 2003 Elseworlds comic, but gave certain characters sharper arcs and more presence. The movie wasted no time setting the global stage. Superman, now the pride of the USSR, pushes the country into a superpower unmatched on Earth. Across the ocean, Lex Luthor is America's weapon of choice, a genius tasked with stopping the Man of Steel's ideological takeover. Wonder Woman's arrival is a turning point. She comes to the Soviet Union as an ambassador of peace, an ally who believes in Superman's mission until the authoritarian edges start cutting too deep. Her eventual break from him, punctuated by the destruction of her lasso of truth, became one of the movie's most talked about moments. The action had scale, brawls with Brainiac, political chess matches between nations, and set pieces that spanned decades of Cold War tension. But the power of Red Son was in the moral unease it left behind. Superman's belief in forced utopia is tested again and again, and every countermeasure from Luthor raises questions about which side really holds the moral high ground. Critics and fans noted how the animation balanced political commentary with superhero spectacle, and how voice performances from Jason Isaacs, Superman, and Diedrich Bader, Lex Luthor, gave the ideological rivalry weight. While it stayed true to the broad strokes of the comic, the movie's refinements, especially Wonder Woman's expanded role, earned it praise as one of DC's strongest standalone animated features. Batman: Soul of the Dragon. In 2021, DC Animation traded Gotham's shadowy rooftops for the neon glow and smoky fight clubs of a 1970s martial arts thriller, Batman. Soul of the Dragon was a one-off adventure drenched in grindhouse style, kung fu cinema influences, and a killer funk soundtrack. The story opened years before Bruce became the Dark Knight, during his training at a hidden monastery under the guidance of O-sensei. There, he met Richard Dragon, Lady Shiva, and Ben Turner, three fighters who would become as skilled and dangerous as himself. Their shared past centered around a cursed blade known as the Soulbreaker, a weapon tied to a demonic realm sealed away by their master. When the cult that once sought the sword returns, the old crew reunites. This was a team of equals, each bringing their own style to the fight. Shiva's precision strikes, Turner's raw power, Dragon's fluid martial arts, and Bruce's detective discipline gave the battles variety and weight. The action blended realistic choreography with supernatural elements like serpent demons and mystical gateways, keeping the tension high from dojo sparring matches to city rooftop brawls. The voice cast added authenticity to the throwback tone. David Giuntoli as Bruce Wayne, Kelly Hu as Lady Shiva, Mark Dacascos as Richard Dragon, and Michael Jai White returning to the role of Ben Turner, which he'd first played in live action back in the 1990s. Fans and critics praised the movie for embracing its martial arts roots without watering them down. Soul of the Dragon proved you don't need Gotham's skyline to make a Batman movie hit hard. DC Superhero Girls. When the show was launched in 2015, it looked like a simple merchandising play, an animated series tied to dolls, comics, and school lunchboxes. But somewhere between the toy aisle and the TV screen, it carved out its own corner of the DC universe and built a dedicated fan base. The concept was straightforward. Take some of DC's most famous heroines and reimagine them as high school students balancing classes, friendships, and crime fighting. Wonder Woman was the determined new kid, Batgirl, the tech-savvy problem solver, Supergirl, the rebellious powerhouse, and Harley Quinn, the unpredictable wildcard. Bumblebee, Katana, Poison Ivy, and others rounded out the cast, each with distinct personalities, backgrounds, and story arcs. Episodes mixed slapstick humor with genuine lessons about teamwork, resilience, and self-acceptance. It wasn't shy about weaving in themes like diversity, inclusion, and empowerment, but always through the lens of character-driven stories. Even the rivalries had nuance. Harley and Ivy's schemes often hid moments of friendship, while Wonder Woman's perfectionism sometimes created her own problems. The animation style leaned bright and colorful, matching its target audience, but the writing had enough wit to pull in older viewers, including parents watching alongside their kids. Voice talent like Gray Griffin, Tara Strong, and Mae Whitman brought energy and warmth to the roles, helping the characters feel more than just product tie-ins. The show's success extended beyond the screen. It spawned webisodes, graphic novels, and specials, with merchandise sales staying strong throughout its run. More importantly, it provided a superhero series where young girls could see themselves not just as sidekicks or supporting characters, but as the stars of their own adventures. Green Lantern, the animated series. It hit the air in 2011 with something DC Animation hadn't fully committed to before: a fully CGI superhero show. Produced by Bruce Timm and Giancarlo Volpe, it dropped Hal Jordan and Kilowog into a sprawling space opera that felt closer to a serialized sci-fi epic than a standard Saturday morning cartoon. The series kicked off with the two patrolling the far reaches of Guardian Space, where the usual rules of the Corps didn't always apply. Their main adversaries were the Red Lanterns, led by Atrocitus, whose warpath set the tone for the show's high-stakes conflicts. The arcs unfolded over multiple episodes, giving time to explore deeper themes like war, prejudice, loyalty, and redemption. One of the standout elements was Aya, an artificial intelligence who evolved from ship's computer to fully realized teammate. Her journey from machine logic to self-aware hero, and the tragic consequences of her choices, became one of the emotional anchors of the entire run. Fans still cite the Razor and Aya storyline as one of DC Animation's most heartfelt romances. The animation style had a clean, stylized look that worked well for vast alien worlds, massive space battles, and intricate ring construct fight scenes. Voice performances from Josh Keaton, Hal Jordan, Kevin Michael Richardson, Kilowog, and Gray Delisle, Aya, gave the characters weight and personality, matching the show's balance of humor and gravitas. Critics praised it for pushing beyond the typical hero-villain of the week formula, but despite the strong reviews, it lasted only one season, 26 episodes, with its cancellation tied partly to the poor box office performance of the 2011 Green Lantern live-action movie and underwhelming toy sales. Even so, the show built a loyal following that still campaigns for its revival. For a single-season show, it left an outsized mark, proving that a superhero series could go cosmic, stay serialized, and still land with emotional impact. Batman, the Brave and the Bold. When the show premiered in 2008, it caught audiences off guard. not with another grim, brooding Gotham tale, but with a bright, campy, unapologetically fun version of The Dark Knight. Instead of patrolling alone, Batman teamed up with a different DC hero every episode, pulling everyone from heavy hitters like Green Arrow to deep cuts like B'wana Beast and Detective Chimp into the spotlight. The show leaned into Silver Age comic book energy, bold colors, punchy one-liners, and absurd but imaginative plots. One week could involve intergalactic time travel, the next a musical episode with Neil Patrick Harris voicing the Music Meister. Beneath the humor, it had a knack for subverting expectations, including gender role reversals, satirical takes on macho posturing, and episodes where supporting characters took center stage. Diedrich Bader's voice performance as Batman struck the right balance between heroic gravitas and self-aware wit, allowing the character to thrive in stories that were as much parody as they were genuine heroics. The writing team used the format to resurrect forgotten DC characters, giving them more attention than they'd had in decades. The series wasn't afraid to go emotional either. The final episode, Mightfall, narrated by Batmite, broke the fourth wall, acknowledged the show's cancellation, and sent Batman off in a way that celebrated its unique place in the DC animated lineup. It's one of the rare cases where a superhero cartoon wrapped itself up with a wink to the audience and still landed an emotional punch. Over 3 seasons, the show proved that a lighter tone didn't mean lesser storytelling. It became a love letter to DC's history, honoring the ridiculous and the heartfelt in equal measure. Wonder Woman. Directed by Lauren Montgomery, the movie opened on Themyscira, where the Amazon's centuries-long imprisonment of Ares, the god of war, was about to come undone. The early sequences established Diana's world in rich detail, a paradise island steeped in Greek tradition, ruled by Queen Hippolyta, and fiercely guarded against the outside world. When Steve Trevor, an American pilot voiced by Nathan Fillion, crash-landed on its shores, it set off a chain of events that led to Diana becoming her people's champion in the fight to recapture the escaped Ares. The movie didn't shy away from showing Diana as both diplomat and warrior. Her clashes with Ares' forces were choreographed with a mix of grounded combat and fantastical powers, while quieter moments explored her curiosity and occasional frustration with the outside world's contradictions. The interplay between Kerry Russell's Diana and Fillion's Trevor brought sharp humor without undercutting the stakes, a balance many later adaptations tried to emulate. Alfred Molina voiced Ares with a menace that escalated through the story, culminating in a final battle set against a war-torn Washington, D.C. The fight scenes pushed the PG-13 rating, delivering swordplay, hand-to-hand brawls, and a scale that felt cinematic despite being animated. Upon release, Wonder Woman earned strong reviews from critics and fans alike. Praised for staying true to the character's feminist roots while delivering blockbuster-level action, many still regard it as one of the best DC animated movies, a project that proved Diana's mythology could stand alone without leaning on the Justice League. Harley Quinn. Developed by Justin Halpern, Patrick Schumacher, and Dean Lorey, the show carved out a space where Gotham's absurdity could run unchecked while still building layered character arcs. Kaylee Cuoco's Harley was loud, impulsive, and unpredictable, but the writing gave her more than punchlines. Across the seasons, she forged a path from sidekick to self-reliant anti-hero, assembling her own crew of misfits, including Poison Ivy, Clayface, King Shark, and Dr. Psycho. Lake Bell's Poison Ivy became the show's grounding force, her dry wit playing off Harley's manic energy, and their slow-burn romance grew into one of the series' emotional anchors. The humor pulled no punches. Meta-jokes targeted DC tropes, from grimdark reboots to over-the-top villain plans, while still delivering action sequences that stood toe-to-toe with more serious superhero shows. At the same time, major plotlines tackled identity, toxic relationships, and personal growth, giving the chaos a surprising amount of heart. The animation style leaned into bold colors and exaggerated expressions, matching the tone's mix of irreverence and intensity. Guest appearances from across the DC roster, like a petty, insecure Bane or a fame-obsessed Lex Luthor, gave the world a lived-in satirical edge. Critics praised Harley Quinn for redefining the character beyond her origins in the movie, while fans embraced it as one of the most honest depictions of Harley and Ivy's relationship in any medium. Justice League Dark: Apocalypse War. This movie was its full-stop ending, and it didn't hold anything back. Directed by Matt Peters and Christina Sada, it opened with the League launching an all-out assault on Darkseid's homeworld. Within minutes, that plan went to pieces. Heroes were slaughtered, captured, or twisted into cybernetic paradooms, fusions of parademons and doomsday. 2 years later, the remnants of the DCU were unrecognizable. Superman had been depowered with liquid kryptonite. Batman served Darkseid as a mind-controlled strategist. The Teen Titans were gone. Constantine, voiced with biting sarcasm by Matt Ryan, became the reluctant centerpiece, pulling together a patchwork team of survivors that included Raven, Damian Wayne, Etrigan, and Harley Quinn. The journey to undo Darkseid's victory was brutal. Characters died in sudden, graphic moments. Aquaman, Zatanna, Nightwing, and countless others fell along the way. The stakes weren't reset by the third act either. Every battle carried lasting consequences. When the final confrontation came, victory meant rewriting reality at a massive cost, leaving only a slim hope for what came next. The voice cast delivered across the board, with Jerry O'Connell as Superman, Jason O'Mara as Batman, Rosario Dawson as Wonder Woman, and Tony Todd bringing his signature menace to Darkseid. The animation leaned into its R rating, showing a war-torn universe without sanitizing the fallout. Fans praised the movie for committing to a definitive ending instead of leaving the door open for sequels. It wrapped over a dozen interconnected movies into one finale that felt both epic and grim, closing the DCAMU in a way that left an impact. And that's it. Now to you, if DC gave you the keys to create the next woke animated project, no limits, full creative control, which hero, timeline, or wild alternate universe would you go for? Share your thoughts below. As you leave a like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more amazing videos like this one.